life is just like a game, right? It's just such a crazy game of just like you're going to the next level. Okay, you have a little obstacle and then you gotta make a detour and take a pit stop and whatever. And what I like to do is think about like every time that I was struggling, how eventually I always made it.
Yeah.
Right? Like in the end, you always make it to where you're supposed to be. And then when you look back, you're like, oh yeah, that's why that happened.
Seanydoo. Hello, and welcome to Situaseans podcast. I'm your host, Sean Michael Williams, aka Seanydoo. You can call me Sean, Seanydoo. Doesn't matter to me. I'm just glad that y'all are here. And I got a special guest here. I have a guest who's actually the host of a podcast. Who is my special guest here? Well, my guest is Shweta Loomba. So Shweta, she is a multifaceted baddie. Actually, you know what? Go all the way the fuck off for that one. I love that. Go all the way the fuck off. Thank you for being here, first and foremost.
Thank you.
So 3 years ago, she ended a long-term long-distance relationship to move cross-country to get a master's degree. Wow, in biotech and entrepreneurship. Wow, go all the way the fuck off. We love that. We love that. Upon graduating, she decided to pivot hard and become a barista, exploring New York City and discovering her true self. We love that. And she loves everything related to fashion, is a professional dancer, and is the host of On to the Next Quarter podcast. So welcome to the show, Shweta Loomba.
Thank you, Sean. What an introduction. I'm so excited to be here. And yeah, it feels good to meet you again.
Yeah. Like it's so cool just being able to like connect and like, share so much information with each other about podcasting and all that good stuff. So Shweta and I, we have met each other at Podfest 2024 in January of this year. And oh my goodness, just meeting all the other different podcasters and just learning about podcasting. It was a good time, wasn't it?
It was such a good time. And I didn't know how deep the connections would get or if it would go anywhere. But like, I'm here in Chicago on your show from New York. Like,
Exactly.
That's crazy. I'm so excited. And it feels like, well, as soon as I met you, I think I told you this too. It just felt like we clicked. Like we were friends. You have such a great energy to you. You're so easygoing, easy flowing. And I was like, yeah, I need to be his friend.
Likewise. I just love how driven you are and just learning about your podcast, learning about your life and everything that makes you you. I was like, wow, she has such a light about her. And I'm just like, yeah, we definitely have to stay in contact. And I'm glad we made it happen. I'm glad you're here. And yeah, we're going to solve dating by the end of this episode.
Okay. I hope so. Because I need some answers too. I don't know.
Love it. Well, I want to say to the listeners, thank you all for tuning in. So this podcast is about dating, relationships, mental and emotional life experiences. Ooh, fucking we. The world of dating is so unhinged, isn't it?
It is.
People be wilding out here.
Yeah. From the stories that I hear, it sounds unhinged.
Yeah. For sure. And I want you all to subscribe to the Patreon as well. Patreon.com/Situaseans podcast. Now, when you go to Patreon, there's so many behind the scenes content. I have the ad-free episodes there. Also, I have some of the dating app screenshots and stuff like that from, back when I was like, dating and stuff like that. And some of the unhinged things that people would say. One time somebody had messaged me on like Hinge and was just like, wow, look at those luscious black lips. I'm like, wait, what?
No way. No way. And what did you respond?
I didn't. I just screenshotted and left it on red.
Oh my God, I love that.
So yeah, if you want to see content like that, go to the Patreon. And I also have some promo codes for merch and I have giveaways and all that good stuff. So you can start for $3, which is like less than the price of a cup of coffee. So get over there, get that shit, join the Patreon, get all the exclusive behind the scenes content. Also today, we're going to be talking about, how to navigate the roller coaster of young adulthood, which is like, something like, us millennials, we're all going through, right?
Yeah.
even though I'm 30, even though I'm turning 32, I'm actually, by the time this come out, I'm already 32. So even though I'm 32, I'm still a young adult.
Yeah.
So we're going to be talking about that, as well as, how to get it back on track, and, especially when we feel lost about our path and our purpose in life. And that's something that you talk about a lot on your podcast.
Yeah.
So I'm so excited for you to bring all your knowledge and insight onto this.
Oh, I hope so. I hope so.
The pressure is all on you.
Oh my God.
I'm like pitching you like the ball. You're going to knock it out the park.
Oh, I hope so. I'm in the hot seat now. Usually I'm the interrogator. Give me everything. Tell me everything. But yeah, hopefully I learned something from my guests, because they're amazing, honestly. So yeah.
Absolutely. And Harley, she thinks that you're gonna solve it all for us as well, right, Harley? If you're watching on YouTube, or if you're watching on Spotify, because now if you're watching on Spotify actually plays the video episode. So if you're watching on Spotify, you can see Miss Harley, our production assistant and mascot. She's kind of just chilling over here. Harley, yeah, hello, girl. Who's your good girl? Yeah. So yeah, Harley, she is here to support us. She's ready to dive in. So we're gonna go ahead and dive on in.
Yeah, let's do it.
And we have we also have some unhinged and hinged dating app screenshots that we're going to unpack at the end as well.
Okay. I'm excited.
So whenever I have a guest on the show, our listeners, they always want to know, well, what's the current relationship status of the guest? So tell us, are you single, in a relationship? What's going on?
Single, so single.
Okay.
As single as it can be. Yeah, so I've been single for about 3.5 years now, and it's been a journey. I've been in a relationship with myself. Let's put it that way.
Love that.
Yeah.
All right. And so, are you on the dating apps, or are you kind of just like, nah, I'm not even going to even think about that right now?
No, I have never been on the dating apps. I know one time my friends I think they got me to download the app itself, and they were like really forcing me to try and make an account, but I was just like, no, like I can't do this. And it's nothing against dating apps. Well, I live in New York City, so that's when once I moved there, I kind of became single, and I was like, if I can't meet somebody in person, like in such a huge city, like what am I doing? Like I feel like I'm pretty outgoing enough to be able to meet people, and I like to catch the vibe like in person. I suck at texting. I suck at messaging. I start overthinking everything. So I feel like it would just cause me so much anxiety, and I just wouldn't want somebody basing like who I am based on like a picture they saw of me. And I feel like it would just, and I would do that for other people, but like I don't want to be so judgmental. At least I don't know.
That's fair.
So that's why like I personally haven't like gone on the dating apps, but I feel like if I was living in the middle of nowhere and there's like nobody else around, then for sure I would be on it. So yeah.
You're lucky by not even having, to even be on the dating apps, because like, the dating apps are just so fucking unhinged. Like, I'm sure you hear from your friends about like the terrible stories or just unhinged people.
Exactly. That's why I'm like, and they're like, okay, I'm taking a break now. So I'm like, okay, then I'm just not even gonna try. There's no point. Like if I have to take a break and then get back on it and then take a break again, I'm like, yeah, no, let's leave it.
Yeah. That's kind of like what I, have been doing, is like have like a love-hate relationship with the dating apps. It's like, I'll download it. And then, I go on a couple of dates, and then like, I'm like, you know what? I don't want to do this like this dating app or whatever anymore. I'm gonna just like, turn off the apps, delete it, re-download it. So as of January of this year, I turned off the dating apps. And so I've been single for about July of 2022 is when was when I ended my last relationship. But been single for, a little bit now, almost 2 years. And at this point, since I'm moving or whatever, I guess by the time I guess this comes out, it'll be like, close to the move or whatever. But anyway, so because I'm moving, I'm like, this makes it so complex and complicated. It's like, I can't really be on a dating apps if it's like I have no longevity here, you know?
Yeah.
So, but
and
yeah.
Are you looking for like longevity right now?
I would love to have longevity if I wasn't moving.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think once I get settled, you know, in LA and everything, by then I'll be like, okay, now I planted my feet where I want to, like, you know, where I want to live.
Mm-hmm.
Now let me start to, you know, go back out there and date with intention and bring my full authentic self and find a life partner.
Yeah.
But I guess for like, you know, I guess for the rest of this year, I'm kind of just like focusing on the move. And then, that's pretty much it.
And do you think that like people date with intention when they're on the apps?
Some do.
Okay.
But what I find is that some people are on the apps when they shouldn't be. And by that, I mean, like, example, if someone is like, oh, I just got out of a relationship like a month ago and I'm just here. And it's like, well, getting on a dating app after you just got out of a last relationship, it's not going to do any good for you because you still haven't processed, you still haven't gotten past the previous relationship and you're already jumping into something new.
And then they're going to inflict their own pain and trauma onto somebody else that does not need it.
Exactly.
So,
The projection is real.
The projection is real. Healing is key. And like, because I was in such a long-term relationship, it was like 7 years, right? So it was hard to, like, I couldn't understand how people are like, they're like, New York City, it must be so nice to be single. I'm like, yeah, but like, it's like the best place to date or whatever. I was like, dude, I have no idea because I'm still working through my stuff. You need time to process. And like, at least for me, it was like, even if I was like talking to another person, it's hard not to compare it to your old relationship, you know? So I'm just like, I don't know how people do it. It's tough out there.
It really is. It really is. And like, I love New York. I've been there a couple times, and like from the couple times that I've been there, I really like the vibe. You New Yorkers are just a whole vibe.
Yeah, we are. I gotta agree. I love it. I've been like, it's hard not to compare one city to the other city. And I've only been in Chicago for a couple of hours, like less than a day. And like, I love it. It's beautiful. It's so clean, but you feel the difference in like the energy, right? Like the hustle and the bustle and the way that people dress. And like, it's just a whole nother like monster out there. Like,
for sure. And what I've noticed too, it like, especially just traveling between like New York, California, Chicago, like the Southwest, you know, one of my goals is to visit every state before I turn 50. But
I like that.
But I think right now I'm at like 13, 14 states or whatever. So not much. So I still need to, get some more under my belt. But anyway, what I've noticed from like going to the East Coast all the way to the West Coast, what I've noticed is people are like so intense about the hustle and bustle, whatever, over East. And then like, same thing kind of like, Midwest. But then as you go more like, West, like, like Midwest, Southwest, or even like the West Coast.
The West Coast,
people
baby.
are just laid the fuck back.
Yeah. I remember I was at Podfest or even in New York, like I'll be talking, right? And when I'm not in like adrenaline rush mode, I'll be talking, or we were at Podfest and I was walking and somebody was like, yeah, you walk too slow to be a native New Yorker. I was like, that's because we're in Florida. Like, I'm going to be chill. I'm going to calm down, you know? Like, and we are very, very like, and one time somebody was like, you talk too slow. Like, you're definitely from California. I was like, okay, like, thank you. Like, I don't know how I'm supposed to take that. But yeah, it's like super chill out there. Like the vibes are so different. So it's interesting to experience like the West Coast, like complete West Coast, and then the complete East Coast, because they're like polar opposites.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Honestly, I'd rather like not speak as fast as I do because I talk too damn fast. I've been told that a million times in my personal life. And then one time someone like DM'd the podcast and was like, you talk too damn fast.
No way. No way.
And then one time I had a guest from Love is Blind on, and someone had called me out and was like, he says, you know a lot. And he says, like a lot. I'm like, damn it, they're right. I can't say anything about it. I can't be mad because it's true.
God.
So since then, I've been way more aware about the words and the phrases and stuff like that and using filler words, because when we're talking in real life, we don't even catch that. We're just going and going and going. But of course, when we're presenting on an online platform or content media creation, we have to take into consideration that there's people that are listening that are going to be listening for like, wait, how is this person talking? Wait, what are they saying? So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of annoying.
Right?
But I get it.
Considering the fact that I use like a lot, I'm like, well, like just like that. Exactly. It's like, basically, I'm just not going to be able to say anything anymore. Podcast is over. Like, this is the end of the podcast.
Okay, you got this. You got this. Slow progressions.
Right.
Baby steps.
Exactly. So being based out of New York City and everything, so you grew up there? Or wait. Actually, you said you moved there recently, right? Or
yeah, I moved there like 3 years ago. I moved there August 2020 is when I got accepted for my master's over there at NYU. So I moved from California, Southern California, the small little town called Apple Valley, Victorville. It's like in the middle of the desert on the way to Vegas. So literally nothing over there. And so I actually lived in like a bunch of different states, like 7-8 different states while growing up. And then I moved to California when I was 10, and from 10 until college, undergrad, everything I did there. And then I moved to New York. Yeah.
All right. So do you prefer New York over California?
Oh my gosh, I get this question all the time. I think they're uncomparable. You can't compare it, right? Like we have like beaches, like the best beaches, so much sunshine. You get to drive over there, right? Like it's so open. So that's a completely different vibe. And then like New York is something else. So I feel like in both places, I'm two different people. There's like two different versions of myself that come out. And so when I'm in New York, I love the energy. It feels like home and you're just like, oh, yes. But when I go back, I also love like chilling out. It feels like a detox because New York gets a lot, right? And so I love my favorite thing to do ever is to just lay in the sun. And I can only do that in California year round,
right?
You know? It's hard to compare. They're both like home for me, right? Like my family's there, my friends are there. So, I think before I used to try and be like, oh, this is better, that's better, but they're just two different places and I love them both equally. Yeah.
All right. That's fair. Yeah. Love it. So what are your thoughts about the dating scene in New York?
Man, I wish we were doing this a couple months later because now I'm ready to go out into the dating world. So then I would have been able to like talk on it more. But let's see. What are my thoughts on the dating? I feel like from what I've heard, it's a great place to date, but not a great place to get into a relationship unless you're already in one. But then again, I don't know. So we'll find out. I'm just trying to have fun, meet some people, have a good time. So,
absolutely. Yes.
I don't think I could really speak on that much as of now because New York's been a place where I found myself. And so stepping out into the dating world is tough. It's like a tough push out there. And I think like the problem is like when you're single in New York, everyone's like, oh, why aren't you dating? Like, why aren't you? That was the number one question I would get is like, oh, you've only been in like one main relationship. Like, how are you going to know what you like? And I'm like, I don't need to go and traumatize myself to know what I like and what I don't like. You know, like you can catch a vibe off of somebody by something that they're saying or something that they're doing. And you could be like, okay, like this just wouldn't work. Or like, I see what your intentions are. Or, just like our lifestyles just don't match. Like, I don't need to be in a relationship or date you and then have to heal from that as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I feel like that's what like a lot of people are doing. And they're just kind of just like jumping around and like in this rat race of their career, and then also in this rat race of like needing to date and like doing all of that. And so it's nice to kind of like step out of there, because finally I was able to find a crew where that's not all that we're talking about, because that's like the first thing that people talk about, like, oh, where are you, where, like, who are you dating, like, oh, this is a great date spot and this and that. I'm like, okay, what's a great spot for friends, like what's a great
Yeah.
spot to like meet people you want to hang out with on a day-to-day basis, you know? So that's kind of been my life. But this year, if anyone's watching in New York City, hit me up.
Yeah, you heard it here first.
yeah. So yeah, I've been like having my like little crushes and trying to put myself out there. So we'll see. I'll let you know. Maybe we'll do a part 2.
Yeah, right, exactly. Love it. Yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from, especially in the New York dating scene. Because even just being out there a couple of times and kind of just witnessing from afar, I'm like, okay, yeah, people are kind of like, I don't know, New Yorkers, don't kill me for saying this, but doing the most.
Yeah.
All right, I just lost all my New York. Like, any New York listeners, they didn't tuned out by now.
It's because the whole world is there, and you have so many options. So like the attention span is like very limited. I feel, you know, it's like when a dog is like, oh, squirrel. Like it's like, okay, you're with somebody, but then like another person passes by, and you're just like, oh wow, like, you know. So I feel like that's how it kind of is. Everything's just like bouncing around. So
yeah, for sure. And even like this year, I feel like this year, especially on like the few days that I went on this year, I have dated a lot less than what I was doing like I guess, you know, last year and everything that was after my most recent relationship. Because after that relationship, she was projecting a lot of her past onto me. She grew up in a home of a lot of traumatizing experiences and abuse. And I did as well, but I had theater. I had all these different outlets, and she didn't have too many outlets to really express herself or kind of like process and go through it. So in her adult life, a lot of that trauma and baggage, she kind of just expected me to carry all that. And it just caused us to just argue a lot. And I was like, okay, I can't do this. But after that relationship, I was like, you know what? Well, I want to start focusing on me and just putting myself first, because I've noticed in relationships, I would always put the other person well before myself. Even like I would put them before my own well-being. Yeah. And that's where it started to really fuck with me, because I'm like, damn, like I'm like losing my sense of self, you know?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that's the thing that's been holding me back to like put myself out there, is because I'm so afraid of losing myself, the self that I just barely discovered, right? You know, the self that I barely just started to understand. And I'm afraid of, you know, liking a person and getting infatuated with them and then like losing that sense of self, you know? So I think that's what's been like holding me back a little bit, because it's hard. You merge into the person, you know, you start doing things that they like, they start doing things that you like, and like it's like slowly it like chips away at like who you are. And so I think I'm just like a little bit afraid of that, but I think it's important to find somebody who understands themselves, has worked through at least some of their trauma, and if it ever comes out, they can understand like, hey, sorry, this is just like a response that I'm having, but like, you know, without like projecting it onto you. And so if there's two independent people that meet, I think then you won't lose yourself. And so I'm just waiting for that independent man.
Yeah. You like, if you're listening, find Shweta, get in her DMs. Like, I'm just, now your DMs are going to be flooding, right?
But like, no, it's hard. It's tough. I think that especially getting into a relationship when you're younger, that's what happens, because you're figuring out the world, you're figuring out who you are, and then you're also still healing from everything that's probably still pretty recent, you know? So it's tough, but it's good that you took the time to like work on yourself and put yourself first, because that's the only way that any relationship will work out, whether it's a friendship, relationship with your family, your friends, your significant others. So yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then 2023, I'd say like the later half of 2023 was like a self-discovery as far as like the types of dating environments that I guess surrounded myself in. So, for the listeners that are listening, so I was on another podcast recently talking about like dating on like polyamorous apps and stuff like that.
Okay.
And like me, I'm not poly, or I'm not, or like, I'm not ethically non-monogamous or anything like that. All my past relationships have been, monogamous. But in my single days, I have dated people in a poly space, meaning like two other couples, but I'm like the third person, or like.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So.
So were you dating both of them?
Like more so, just I guess like a consistent partner, if that makes sense.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because there were a couple of times where like there was like a couple of situations where it's like, yeah, I was hanging out with the couple, going out on dates with the couple, but then there were times where it's like, yeah, I'm just here as the third person in bed. So like,
okay. Okay. That's fun.
So, yeah. And then like my freshman year of college, like when I was out in California before I moved back to Chicago, like I had a whole phase out there. Like
okay.
that's for the Situaseans podcast after dark. No, but basically what I'm getting at is there's just so many different types of dating styles. There's so many different types of, I guess, ways to date people. And I'm just glad that these days, because we have so much information accessible to us because of the internet, technology, and stuff like that, I feel like people can become more aware or educate themselves on, these different types of dating situations, whether it's monogamous or non-monogamous and stuff like that. So I guess if someone out there, and I have had like this come up too in a DM from a listener about dating in like a polyamorous world, and or opening up their relationship. And I think my best advice would be to have that conversation with like your partner and see if they're open to that. And then on top of that, also, in that space, there is no room for quote unquote jealousy, because it's like there's always going to be another person, so it's like you both have to navigate that however I don't know, whatever works for them. But yeah, 2024 and 2025, I just feel like the more as the years go on, the more that we all discover so many different ways of dating, so many ways of loving, and just connecting. So
what type of relationship, when you have it, would you want to have?
I want a monogamous relationship.
Okay. Okay, yeah. Me too. Yeah, no, that's an interesting topic, because like I met people that are in open relationships, and I always think like, okay, like how, like, I'm just curious to like understand like how that works and how you don't let like jealousy like play a part in it. So I don't know, it's interesting, I guess, like, and as long as it works for them, like a lot of them are like happy. So I'm like, all right, like works for you. That's good,
Exactly. Yeah. Even me being like the outsider or that third person, I'm just like, I don't know if I could ever like open up a relationship with my significant other. I'd be like, I want you, and that's it.
Yeah.
But hey, everybody is different. So yeah, I don't know. It's definitely it's definitely something that, again, it works for those individuals if it works, and if it doesn't, hey, at least they tried, or at least they had a conversation about it. All right. Love it. Go all the way the fuck off. Speaking of go all the way the fuck off, get your go all the way the fuck off t-shirt if you want.
You have a t-shirt?
Yeah, there's a t-shirt.
Way.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I wish I had it. I'm wearing it right now. That's so funny. I like that.
If you're watching on YouTube or Spotify, you'll see the t-shirt pop up here. And here's a promo code. So the promo code is only for the people that are watching. If you're listening on one of the podcast apps, you better stop the audio where you're at, and then resume the audio on YouTube or Spotify, and you will see the promo code here. So get your Go All the Way the Fuck Off t-shirts, situationspodcast.com. Click on the merch tab.
Damn, this marketing, I love it. I'm learning so much. Okay, I need to do this.
Gotta go to Plug City, you know, plug the merch, you know. But yeah, I'm glad that, you know, at least the people that you've connected with have been nice. And yeah, you know, you are living your best life and we love that for you.
Yes, yes. I think I'm very intentional about like people that I let into my space, into my energy, you know, and so that's why, like, for the most part, I don't have like pretty like traumatic stories.
Yeah.
Knock on wood.
That's a good problem to have, though. That's a good problem to have, is not too like no real traumatic story. So yeah. So do you have a type as far as the people that you're interested in, or is it kind of just like, you know, character, values, all that stuff?
Yeah, I think like values, I think is definitely like the core, and just like the person's personality. I don't know if I have specifically a type, but somebody cultured, you know,
yeah,
with a little bit of spice,
right?
You know,
no vanilla, no, I'm just kidding.
No, but yeah, I don't know. I'm like down to just like vibe out and just get to know like anyone and everyone from all different cultures and from all over the world. Like New York is such a melting pot, and so you learn so much and you see people and such different mixes too, you know, so unique. And I'm just like, damn, like there's so much out there that I didn't even know. Like I'm just like excited to see and to experience, you know, as long as, but like they're definitely their like values or their mindset, I think has to match, especially for females. I feel like that's how we like emotionally like connect. Like obviously the physicality is like a nice cherry on top, but I think that you know, I just have to like you as a person.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you know, so you have a podcast, you know, on to the next quarter. We love that. And actually, we're going to pop up the graphic of that podcast right here so you all will know how to find it. Like, yeah, you see it. It's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, all that stuff. So yeah, so you're the host of On to the Next Quarter podcast. I want to know, you know, what inspired you to get the podcast off the ground and put this podcast together, and how long has it been around?
Yeah, so On to the Next Quarter. It's been around for about a year now. It's something that I recently started, but you know, it was a time in my life where I don't know if you've ever felt just stuck. You're like in this phase of limbo. You don't know what you want to do with your life. It's like you don't want to be this old version of yourself, but you don't know who this new version is going to be. You want to take a chance, a risk on yourself, but you just don't know how. And you feel completely alone in your own journey. You feel afraid, you're scared, and you just feel like you don't have anyone to go to. And that was how I was feeling personally in my life. And I wanted to create a sense of community for people, for us to talk about our struggles, what we're facing, our successes, our failures. And ultimately for me, I was taking an unconventional path, right? I was going to be a doctor. I come from an Indian background, and we have this like, you know, stereotypical standard of like success and what that should look like. And you know, that completely changed for me. And I was stuck in the unknown, and I felt like I had nobody to look up to. And then when I moved to New York, I saw that, you know what, like there's so many other people that are out there that are doing that. And I realized like I need to talk about this. We need to create a community, whether it's on mental health, whether it's switching career paths, whether it's just stepping into the unknown, getting out of a long distance relationship, stepping into a new relationship, whatever it is. We have all gone through it. And I just want people to be able to find themselves, walk their true path, and find their purpose in life, essentially.
Wonderful. Yeah. And so the podcast has been around for a year or two, you said?
Yeah, a year.
Okay.
Or like in March, it's like a year. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Love it. And even just listening to your podcast, I absolutely love it.
Aww.
It's your podcast made my weekly rotation of podcasts that I listen to.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's a very inspiring podcast. I really like what you're doing. And I really love the setup of your podcast, especially, the studio that you shoot in. Oh my goodness, it's beautiful. And the guests that you have on. And like the last episode that I listened to was with Rohith.
Oh
Yeah, and he was talking about his journey, and like in Hollywood and Bollywood as being a dancer, and we're working with so many big names and stuff like that, and even like your history and how you all know each other. I'm like, wow, like this is amazing.
Oh, thank you so much. That means so much to me. I really appreciate that. Absolutely. I haven't been as consistent as you. You're like popping them out one after another, but like, I appreciate that.
For sure, for sure. And for our listeners that are tuning in for now that they know about your podcast on to the next quarter, now they're going to jump over and listen to your podcast. Can you share with our listeners what's like the setup of the podcast? Like, what does a normal episode look like?
Oh, okay. So a normal episode, usually it would be like, I'm introducing you. Let's take you as an example, right? I would introduce you. We would talk about how we met, and for each person, they have a purpose as to why they're on the show, right? So maybe with you, I would talk about relationships and the importance of them, how to discover yourself, how to date with intention, right? Maybe we would be hitting those topics. And like, I had a life coach. I had somebody talking about what it's like to move to a different country and to be an immigrant in this country and make yourself, right? I had somebody who is on the women's international team for Nigeria, right? She played in the World Cup. Wow, and so what it's like to have the dream of being a professional soccer player, but also wanting to be a doctor because that's what she wants to do, and the mindset that you have to have for that, right? So everyone has that's the whole idea. Everyone has such a unique and different path in life. And the thing is to just encourage you to walk your own, empower you to walk your own. And so whether that means you want to date multiple people because maybe somebody feels shy about that, right? Or nowadays, I feel like you feel more shy about wanting to be monogamous because everyone wants to just date everyone, right? And so when you meet somebody who's like, no, I just want one person, they're like, oh yeah, no, you're not for me, right? Like you're out of the table, right? So like for me, I would want to listen to somebody who talks about like, oh, monogamy, right? So maybe we would talk about that. And so it just really goes in depth about these topics that we're all thinking about, but we just don't know who to go to. And so yeah, that's the flow of it. And we have fun, but it's like fun and educational or like motivational all at the same time.
All right. Yeah. And even just listening to your guests and listening to you like have those conversations about like having the hard conversations about, hey, I may feel lost in my life, or I may feel lost because of like this situation. And I want to, get to this point. This is what I'm doing to put in the work. This is what I'm doing. And like, that's what I've been noticing. I'm just like, wow, this is so fucking inspirational. So you are doing the Lord's work. Go all the way to fuck off. Keep on podcasting, keep on putting out episodes, and keep on bringing on great guests. I really appreciate everything that you're doing like in that space for sure.
Oh, thank you. I can't wait to have you on the show when you come visit.
Absolutely. I'll be there in October. So yes, we're going to make it happen.
Yes.
Yeah, so lately I've been hearing the term quarter life crisis. So especially on social media, like everyone's saying it. And I think quarter life crisis definitely is affecting, Gen Z, and millennials because of, long story short, all the different things that's happening, like, in the world these days. We got inflation, we got the latest world wars that's been going on, as well as like a pandemic, the housing market. It's like everything that has happened, like all the decisions that baby boomers made that fucked up everything for us.
Yeah.
We are going through a quarter life crisis because it's like, wow, we're in our 20s and 30s, and it's like we should, or even, we should have the same opportunities and resources that our parents' generation had, when they were our age. And it's like we don't.
Yeah.
So so would you agree that, that I guess, our generations are having this quarter life crisis?
Yeah, honestly, I think every generation before us and after us and currently has had it or will have it, and they'll have it in their own way, right? Like, we obviously don't face the struggles that like our parents faced, and they might not understand what we're going through and how deeply COVID has affected people, like kids that were in high school and in college and had to, go through those like formative time in their life, like in the pandemic, or now like with everything going on in the world and the different wars. Like, so I feel like with our parents, they were in survival mode, and like we have to make it and grind through, and like, there was like a typical like career path. It was like everything was kind of decided for them, so they didn't have to think about it. But now they're kind of going through that like struggle. But we're more emotionally attuned, right? So we're healing from the traumas that they didn't get to. Yeah. And so that's why our crisis is a little bit different, right? We're like, you know what? I don't want to live that kind of a life. Like, I don't want to project that onto other people. And maybe they didn't get to take a creative path. They didn't have creative outlets because they weren't allowed to. But like, I want to. I don't want to just sit in an office from 9 to 5 and then come home and have no life and then just repeat it the next day. Like,
right.
What is that?
Exactly.
Like, why am I here? What is the point of life? Like, I want to go. I want to travel. I want to enjoy. I want to have meaningful, deep connections and conversations. And I feel like they lived in a little bit more of a scarcity mindset, and I think we are transforming that. But at the same time, because we don't have role models who have maybe done that, we feel the friction. And so, which is why we need podcasts like this, so we could talk about it and be like, hey, no, like let's there's a lot out there that the world can offer us. It's just we need to stick together and figure it out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And even adding on to that, it's so much easier for our generation to stick together and figure it out because we have social media.
Right.
We all know what each other's doing like yeah. throughout the day, because we got stories. We got what is it, like Snapchat has that find your friends filter or whatever.
Oh my
like
God.
so it's like
that's a little too much for me.
I know,
like,
right?
I'm like, I come to California and somebody be like, why didn't you hit me up? Like, I was like, shoot, like, I forgot you even have my location. Like, let me immediately turn it off.
Exactly.
Like, I'm like, it's a little too much.
But. Same. Yeah. I definitely had to turn that off on Snapchat as well. But yeah, we definitely live in the age of information and in the age of Google. So it's like, it's so much easier for us to figure it out and work together as a generation than it was for our folks. And I do appreciate that at least our generation is taking mental health and emotional health so serious, because our parents' generation was like, just go to church, or don't even worry about it. Like, just push through.
Exactly.
And look at how our parents' generation turned out.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's key, because at least we are tuning into it much earlier in life rather than later. And so I think that bringing awareness to all of that is amazing, but to not overindulge in information, because I know that's what also creates like mental health and anxiety and whatever. So finding that sweet spot, Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. And so what do you think are good ways to process in a healthy way and, kind of like get back on track whenever we feel lost in our individual journeys of life? Like, especially because there are so many people that, we all have a certain mindset or a certain career path that we want or that we're going after, an obstacle comes along and we're like, oh no, like, am I even worthy of this life? Am I even worthy of the success that I want? Like, I always wonder too, like, because like sometimes I even have that imposter syndrome, or I even have like that, okay, I'm going through it right now, but how do I get back on track? So yeah, do you have any advice for our listeners?
It is truly about grounding yourself and just realizing how far you've come. I know everyone just talks about be in the present, but the moment that you can actually do that and just be like, hey, this is just like, life is just like a game, right? It's just such a crazy game of just like you're going to the next level. Okay, you have a little obstacle and then you got to make a detour and take a pit stop and whatever. And what I like to do is think about like every time that I was struggling, how eventually I always made it,
Yeah.
right? Like in the end, you always make it to where you're supposed to be. And then when you look back, you're like, oh yeah, that's why that happened. Or that's why this obstacle was just so great. This is what I needed at that time, because otherwise I wouldn't have been ready for the opportunity.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like if you're on level 1 of a game, you can't jump to level 10 because you haven't built the character, you haven't gotten the whatever resources that you need or whatever. So you need that character development. And so I think just like thinking of it in that mindset rather than like, oh, I'm not equipped for this, or that success isn't in my life, or that, oh, just whatever, having that scarcity mindset. I think just looking at it as like, okay, what is this teaching me? What am I gonna learn from this? And like how can I use this information? And I think having a community, right? Like having not even a community, having your go-to friend, right? Like my friend is here. She's definitely my go-to friend for somebody to help shift you back on track, right? Like somebody who really, really understands you and is able to be real with you, and that you won't get offended by it, you know? So there's a few people in my life where like if I'm really struggling, it's hard for me to open up about it. But when I am, they'll be able to guide me in the right direction. And I know if it's coming from them, then like I'll take it. Even if it hurts, like I know that that's what I have to do. So I think like having those people in your life is so crucial, and not comparing yourself, right? Like taking a break and just not comparing yourself to where other people are. Because for me, for example, right, I'm 27 years old. Nobody has their life together. First of all, nobody has their life together.
Yes. Say it again for the people in the back.
I was, the reason I'm bringing this up is because I've been very anxious about it lately, right? I'm 27 years old. I've been studying science my whole life, right? I thought I was going to be a doctor, and I realized that's not for me. I started my own podcast, which has been going a little bit slowly because I've had some very unforeseen circumstances and situations come up in my personal life. And so I had to take a break. But from the outskirts, people just think like, oh, she's living her best life, right? But like, you know, maybe I'm not. You're struggling and it's okay to take it slow. And I'm seeing people who are progressing way faster than me. And I had to take a break and be like, look, I was dealing with X, Y, and Z, and that's okay. This is my journey. And yeah, I'm 27 years old and I randomly became a barista, and I'm randomly starting a podcast, and I literally have no idea if it's going to be successful or not, but I'm having the best time of my life.
Yeah.
I love doing what I'm doing, and I wake up and I'm happy. I like going to work. I like making people's days. I like having these conversations. So what more do I need?
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. And you know what? We are going to woman fest it into the universe, because your podcast is going to take off.
Aww.
Like I know that we're going to woman fest it. That should be a shirt too.
Yeah. I like that. I like that term.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, I agree with everything that you said.
That was a long answer. Hopefully you guys were able to take something away from it. But essentially just it's your own journey, and just surround yourself with good people who understand you and can guide you in the right direction, because the world is limitless. You can achieve anything you put your mind to.
Absolutely.
It just takes time. It just takes time. That's it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is such a great answer. I really like how you shared that, and how you were able to, because I think that's probably the one thing that's important, because sometimes whenever we hear or get advice, sometimes like I think in my own personal preferences, I like whenever people give advice and even kind of relate it to their own personal life. Like, hey, this is what I'm going through. This is what I'm doing. This is how I'm putting in the work to get to where I want to be, or this is how I'm approaching X, Y, and Z. So I love that you were able to be vulnerable. Thank you so much for being vulnerable with us and the listeners. I really appreciate that. And also to your point, one's like everyone has a different journey. Like no one's path is a one size fits all. So yeah. And I think we miss that. Sometimes that point gets missed a lot and that's what causes the comparison. Well, I'm not where The Rock is, whatever. It's like, well, you're not The Rock, He had his journey, you have your journey.
Exactly.
So yeah.
And a lot of times we don't even actually want to be that person. We don't really truly want to have the lifestyle or like, when we actually go see them in their environment, we're like, yeah, I wouldn't want to be that person.
Right.
So it's just like, oh, we want a couple of the perks that they have, but we don't actually want to be them. So I think it's just like breaking yourself away from that and bringing yourself away from social media and just being like, okay, who do I want to be? And just surround yourself with that.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the one thing too is social media. Social media does not equal reality. I'm going to say that one more time to listeners. Social media does not equal reality.
Yeah.
Just because your favorite influencer has a happy life on social media does not mean it's the exact same thing off camera, so. Agreed. Because yeah, of course we all want to present our best selves on social media and stuff like that. But, we have filters. We have, like Instagram filters. We have, people put out content to tell a story or to tell a narrative, but that's not, unless they're doing a live stream of their life every, minute of the day.
Yeah, exactly.
Even then a live stream is, it's still in a controlled environment. You're only seeing what they want you to see. So yeah. I really appreciate you sharing all of that. Like I needed to hear that. Like, so thank you. Thank you.
Of course.
Situaseans podcast is an open platform covering dating, relationships, mental and emotional life experiences. If you are looking to advertise your brand or product or would like to sponsor the show, send an email to situaseanspod@gmail.com. That's situaseanspod@gmail.com.
So there are a lot of people out there that say you can't have success without failure. And would you agree? Is there kind of like an example that you can kind of think of where it's like, you had to fail at something before you were able to succeed in that, before you were able to get to a certain point? Like, hey, I wanted to pursue this path, or I wanted to do this, or I wanted to go do that. I hit an obstacle, and now that I hit that obstacle, I'm better.
Oh, 100%. My life is that.
Yeah.
My life is a bunch of redirection and planning things that all end up ending in failure. And I literally end up in a completely different direction in life. And I love that. So now I don't care to like plan things for it to go like a certain way. Let's take my story of moving to New York. So I was doing public health science. I was in California and I took a gap year because I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, right? Like I was supposed to be a doctor, but like deep down inside, I was like, I just don't think this is for me. So I was like, let me just apply to master's programs to buy myself some time. Right. And so I was applying and I completely forgot that I had applied to NYU. So when I got the acceptance in the midst of COVID, I was like, yes, like I'm so excited. This has been my dream since I was in middle school. We traveled to New York and I remember I was like on top of the, what is that called? Empire State.
Yeah.
Empire State. And I was with my uncle and I told him, I was like, I'm going to live here one day. Right. And so when I got that acceptance, I was like, wow, I'm going to live my dream. That night I was in the shower. I was blasting Empire State of Mind on repeat. Like I was envisioning myself in New York. Basic as fuck. I know. I got out of the shower and my brother was like, dude, how many times are you going to play that? Like, we get it. I was like, okay, my bad. Yeah, so I was on cloud nine, right? And it's August 2020 and I come to New York. My family comes here and we're trying to find an apartment for myself. And we're looking, and I found the most amazing apartment. I had found a roommate, and we're signing the lease. We're doing all of the paperwork. And on the last night, she bails, and my family has to leave the next morning.
Oh, wow.
And school is about to start in like 5 to 6 days. And the city is completely deserted. And the person that was showing us apartments was like, I don't, like my parents didn't feel safe with me living alone in the city. And luckily I had family in New Jersey, so they were like, why don't you just stay with them, right? And I was like, okay. They were like, okay, it'll just be like a month's thing, like just stay with them. So it had become a month became 2 months, 2 months became 3 months, and it ended up being about 8 months that I was living in New Jersey. And I hated it in Jersey. I don't like it. It's when people say, when New Yorkers say they hate Jersey, I get it. It's kind of ugly, and it was depressing. It was really different.
But we love you, Jersey.
Yeah. Sorry. But it was just, I was like, did I make the right decision? I left my relationship. I left my family. I left my friends. I'm all alone. And I had 0 friends for like 8 months. All I was just doing was sitting and studying in this Barnes and Noble. And I wasn't living my New York dream, right? Like it was literally right next to me. It's neighboring me. I'm so close yet so far away. And I was like, wow, this is the moment that I had envisioned. And everyone in California is like, oh, you're living my dream life. I'm like, am I though? I'm really not. I'm so sad. I'm so depressed. I'm alone all the time. But that time shaped me so much, because that's when I started reading a lot. That's when I understood that I like solitude. That's when I started listening to podcasts. And because I started listening to podcasts, eventually, when the amazing idea came to me to create my own podcast. But if I did not have those 8 months of just sitting with myself, being sad, shifting my whole mindset and my whole idea about life, I would have never started this.
Yeah.
And my journey would have been completely different. And so that year of failure and sitting in it, and telling myself that, you know what, this can't be how my dream ends up. Like, I'm not about to accept this failure. And I think just pushing through it is eventually what got me to the other side. So I think failure is everything. It teaches you so much, and it allows you to reframe and redirect your life, because that's when I got the idea to do this. And otherwise I wouldn't be sitting here with you right now. So
wow.
Yeah, that's my story on failure and success. Yeah.
Yes. I got to give you another go all the way to fuck off. Yes.
Thank you.
You know, listening to your podcast and even just listening to your guests and like even the conversations that you're having with your guests, talking about, you know, their different life experiences, how they've come a long way, how you yourself have come a long way, and what you shared on this show as well. I just kind of want to know, like, what do you think are ways or things that we can do as individuals to, you know, really present and be the best version of ourselves?
That is a deep question. And I think my answer would be to just heal. You can't be the best version of yourself if you haven't healed from the things that are hurting you, right? Like I was saying, if for me, I'm a people pleaser, and if you're a people pleaser and you haven't healed from that yet, how do you know who you are, and how can you present that best version of yourself to somebody else, right? Because you've been living for others your whole life, right? And so for you to sit and take time and to understand and to heal from that and create boundaries so that you can understand who you are, then you can be the best version of yourself. Then you can put yourself out there. Or for somebody who's gone through deep traumatic things in their life, right? You are going to just end up projecting that onto somebody else. And
Right.
so sitting and healing that deeply within yourself is how you can truly present your most loving, authentic version to the world. And so I think ultimately it's just sitting and healing and loving yourself, because when you love yourself, you'll be the best version of yourself. You won't have to go out and work to be the best version of yourself. I think that's where we hit so much friction, is it's like, oh, I want to be the best version of myself, but it feels so difficult. It shouldn't feel like work when you're going out in your day to be the best version of yourself. It should just be who you are, because you've already put the work into the healing before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like that.
Yeah.
That's so true. That is so, so, so true.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all got to heal, and it's important to realize where we are in our own lives, and set goals for ourselves and put in the work to achieve those goals.
Exactly. I think we want to be the best version of career wise and relationship wise and everything, but the core of all of it comes down to just healing, right?
Yeah.
And then everything else will just fall into place, I feel. Yeah.
Absolutely. Have you ever considered being a therapist?
I did. I wanted to be a life coach when I was younger, like when I was in college. I still think about that sometimes. Who knows? Maybe I will.
Yeah. I think you give such great advice, and even just like your own experiences and everything that you've gone through in your life. You have so many great examples as to like how to be the best version of of ourselves and everything. And even with your podcast, I mean, you started your podcast because of your life experiences. And so you would make a phenomenal therapist.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's the best compliment.
Yeah, that's why I was asking, because I was like, wow, like, oh my goodness, like she gives really insightful advice. So
I love that, because I love my therapist. So
yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Therapy is so important. Like, shout out to therapy. I go every week as well. Yeah. Love my therapist. So yeah. If you all are going through something, definitely seek out a licensed counselor. It's just, one Google search away. So, definitely consider it.
Yeah. No shame in it at all.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it was very difficult for me to get into it, because I've been somebody who doesn't want to burden anyone else with my problems, and so I never talk about it. And for me to just have an hour where I just dump my stuff onto somebody else was it felt like I failed. It felt like I can't handle my life on my own, that I need to go to somebody else to take care of it. And then I realized that's not true. That's just something that's been ingrained into me, or that we feel like we need to be this hyper independent person. And so obviously that's something that you need to heal from too, and that no, it's okay, this person is there for you, and people want to be there for you, because you deserve to have people that are there for you.
Absolutely. Exactly.
That's just the bottom line. But we feel like we can't have those people in our life. And so if you're considering it, especially coming from different ethnic backgrounds, I feel like it's the taboo, to seek help. So no, go do it. If you need it, go do it. Yeah. Heal yourself.
Yes. Heal.
Yes.
That's another shirt.
Yeah.
So our listeners, want to know, this last question here is, what do you think are keys to a successful relationship?
Ooh. I think the key is to allow the other person to be able to spread their wings out, and to change, and to discover, and to find themselves, and to have freedom within the relationship. I think the thing that happens is we feel suffocated, and we feel like we can't grow. But I grew so much. I was so many different versions of myself within 1 year, right? And we latch onto this idea that this person isn't the same when we started dating them versus now, right? They're gonna change. There's gonna be so much that happens in life, and to allow that to happen, and to trust that person, to have that trust and allow them to be the most authentic version of themselves, and for them to allow you to be the most authentic version of yourself, and to create that safe space, because that's when you're going to succeed, whether that's in your career, whether it's in your relationship, whether it's in anything else. But if you're tied down, that's going to affect everything in your life. That's going to affect your career, affect your relationships, affect time with friends, with family, right? We see some people just like disappear and they're like not to be seen again, or they've completely changed. And it's because their partner hasn't allowed them to be themselves.
Yeah.
And I think that is ultimately the key, because you are entering, it's two individuals entering a relationship, two whole individuals. You're not halves that are completing each other and need to latch on and stick to each other. So be yourself and love each other for who you are, is what I think the key. Yeah.
Love that. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Mind blown. Our listeners are literally like celebrating over like wherever they're at, like whether they're on like in their car on the way to work or whether they're cooking, they're like, go off. Like I know it. Yeah. Cause that's so fucking true. That's so fucking true. It's important to like, be ourselves, and it's important to appreciate, like others being themselves, because if we can't be ourselves, what are we doing here?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So, yeah. Love that. Go all the way the fuck off.
I'm going to start wearing that t-shirt now around.
Exactly.
Like
Got it. Yes. Get that t-shirt. Right, Harley? Oh yeah, Harley agrees. Trying to improve your skincare game? Guess what? I got a little something for you. You can improve the health of your skincare with the Vogue approved. Yes, you heard that right. Vogue as in Vogue magazines, the models. Yes, that Vogue. The Vogue approved beauty product, Herbal Face Food, the most potent anti-aging, multi-correction skincare product on the market. Yes. So hit that link in the show notes or video description and use our code SPHFF to get 20% off at checkout. Visit herbalfacefood.com to get started. That's herbalfacefood.com. All right. And use code S as in Sam, P as in pineapple, H as in Henry, F as in Frank, F as in Frank to get 20% off at checkout. That's SPHFF to get 20% off. All right. herbalfacefood.com. Okay. Y'all got the hookup. So let them know that Situaseans podcast sent you. All right. Yeah, so we have a Hinge or Unhinged dating app prompt screenshot. So it's like a basic, we're gonna do a little bit of a speed round here. So, listeners have submitted screenshots of the Unhinged shit that people put in their profiles.
Okay.
And we're gonna unpack this. Are you ready to do this?
Okay, let's do it. I'm kind of nervous. I don't know why. Okay.
It's gonna be fun.
Okay.
So let me go ahead and pull it up and pull it up here to hear it as well.
Okay.
Okay, so this very first prompt, this one says, I'm looking for a man with a credit score as good as mine. Is this Hinge, green flag, or Unhinged, red flag, deal breaker? You see this on somebody's profile and we'll even if
it said I'm looking for I get it.
Like if you said like a woman, I'm looking for a woman with a credit score as good as mine. Yeah.
I'll be like, no. Get out of here. on my end, if I'm putting it, I get it, right? Yeah. But like if a man said that and was like, oh, I'm looking for a woman with a good credit score, I'll be like, no, you're out of here. You're probably a finance bro. Get out.
Right.
No.
Oh yeah, New York is full of those.
Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. But that would probably be like a red flag for me.
Yeah, I agree. It's like, this person, they want some like okay, assuming this person's credit score is that damn high. Cool, whatever. I guess brag or whatever. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know. Are you trying to like just going around just asking people that you barely even know, what's your credit score? What's your credit score? What's your credit score?
Yeah. I guess taking it from a woman's perspective, like I'm guessing that she's an independent, high achieving woman. And so it's
we
like,
love that.
yeah, and we love that. And it's like, you know what? We can essentially get like anyone, right? Like we can get anyone. So it's like you want somebody that has a little bit of stability because you don't want to be taking care of them. So like I get it from that aspect, right? But I think that maybe it could be worded a little better.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Like I think there's nothing wrong with wanting a financially stable partner. Yeah.
Exactly. Just say that. Yeah. If you don't want a broke boy, just say that. All right. This second one says, we'll get along if you like listening to podcasts.
Green flag all the way.
Yeah. This is
You're talking to
very
two podcasters.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like 100%. When I hear somebody and they're like, oh yeah, like what is a podcast? I'm like, out. Get
right.
out.
Exactly. That is a green flag for sure. This is very hinged.
Yeah.
Okay. This last one says, I'm convinced that 95% of the people on dating apps are not emotionally available, have way too much baggage, or don't have a clue what they want. It's like, what is that? What's that emoji? Like rolling their eyes emoji. Save me from this nightmare. Is this hinged or unhinged?
I mean, they're on the app.
Yeah.
So like obviously they're unloading their baggage.
Right.
So maybe it's true. Like, you know, I mean there's validity to the statement for sure. There's validity to the statement, but boy, go heal.
Right, exactly.
Like, you go heal. Why are you on this app?
Exactly. Go the fuck heal. Yeah. That's going to be on the shirt. Go the fuck heal.
Yeah. I don't get it. Unhinged, baby, unhinged. If you need to say that on the app,
yeah,
you're that baggage.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're the 95%.
Yeah. It's like hinged that you're realizing this, but unhinged that you're just projecting this on everybody.
Yeah.
For sure.
Let's say that's a medium flag. Right. I get the statement, but like, what are you doing?
Right, exactly. We'll give it we'll give it like a yellow flag.
Yeah, yellow flag. Yeah.
Awesome. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, can you do me a really quick favor? Can you please rate and review this podcast? Like hit that 5-star review, because I do read all the reviews because this helps me know how this podcast is helping others and how this podcast is serving you, because my job as a host is to serve you this podcast the way that you would prefer it to be. All right. Thank you so much for coming onto the show. Shweta, I really appreciate all the insights and all the knowledge that you've given us.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having us in your space. Thank you for letting me self-invite myself onto your show. I was like, hey, I'm coming to Chicago. Like, I'm going to be on your show. This is my first ever time being interviewed. He's like, yeah, sure. So thanks for allowing that. I was so excited because it feels like such a fun conversation. Like I said, it feels like we're friends, and like I wouldn't want to have my first interview with anyone else. So like, it's just,
oh my God, you're gonna make me cry.
Yeah, no, it's been such a great time. You have such an amazing energy, and it's just so fun talking to you. So like, why wouldn't I want to?
Thank you. Likewise. I really love your energy, and I really love everything that you are doing with your life. So keep on doing it. Keep on being an inspiration. Like I'm looking up to you. Like you got this. Keep on pushing forward. And can you tell our listeners how they can connect with you, share all your socials, all that stuff?
Yeah, my podcast is called On to the Next Quarter. You can find it on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. There's a space between on and to. It's not like together. Then on social media, my name is Shweta Loomba, SHWETALOOMBA. And if you want to find my podcast page on Instagram, it's on to the OTTNQ_podcast because somebody took the other name. So it's just like the first letter of each thing. Yeah. Sorry, I had to like remember what it was. I like confuse it sometimes. But yeah, just on to the next quarter everywhere. Yeah.
All right. Love it. Love it. Love it. And whoever stole that Instagram username, let Shweta have it because you're not doing anything good with it.
Yeah, exactly.
So hand it over. Like I really appreciate it. And so if you want to submit your stories and get involved with this podcast, submit your stories to situationspodcast.com/submit. The second way, you can send your voicemail submission, 312-586-2664. Stop asking me if that's my personal number. I'm tired of y'all asking. It's a voicemail box.
No way.
So call the hotline, leave a voicemail. All right. Love y'all. I'm just, sometimes I love giving y'all shit, but I appreciate y'all wholeheartedly. I really do. Without y'all, there is no Situations podcast.
Yeah.
So I appreciate it. And the last way, you can email us, situationspod@gmail.com. Also, as a bonus, if you have an ick, we all have it. Like there's always an ick. Like there's always some shit, right?
Mm-hmm,
There's always some shit. So submit your icks to Situations, right?
Yeah.
Situationspodcast.com/ick.
Yeah, I like that. Well, I can't wait until you move to California and then it changes to relationships podcast.
Yes, exactly right.
I literally love your podcast name. It's so simple, but the fact that like you thought of like putting your name in there, I was like, dude, this is a masterpiece. Literally a masterpiece. So, yeah, I'm so glad to be a part of it.
Yay.
Yeah.
You are now an official friend of the pod, meaning you are welcome back on this show whenever you want, virtually, in person.
Aww.
What the fuck? Like what the fuck ever, you just let me know.
Okay.
We gonna record.
Okay, cool.
Awesome. So whether in a boat, a plane, a train, if you're in the third dimension, hell, if you're Shweta's downstairs neighbor, you can listen to Situations podcast and take this podcast with you wherever the fuck you go. So, all right.
Yes, baby. I love it. Go the fuck off.
Yes, go all the way the fuck off. So I really appreciate you all. Don't forget to rate and review and subscribe and all that good shit. I will see you all back here for the next episode in a couple of weeks. Woo!